Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of PoCommunity. I'm Mike Arboyd and I'm sitting here with Danny Gascho. How's it going, Dan?
Hi, good. How are you?
I'm very good. So I always ask this, what do you do?
Yeah. So I like to tell people that I'm a music coach. So pretty much what I do is like I teach music lessons. So that's what I've been doing for a couple of years now. And it's super fun. Usually when people think of music lessons, they think of like kind of like that boring stuff where they would learn how to read sheet music on the piano, that kind of a thing. So what I try to pitch to people is that hey, I teach you whatever you want to learn. So it's a lot of like learning by ear, that kind of a thing.
Cool.
So
Cool.
yeah, that's what
So,
I do.
so obviously that means you're multi-talented in the industry if you can kind of ask somebody what they want to learn and you can teach it to them.
Yeah, yeah, and like I don't know about you, but like that's kind of how I approach like anything. Where like I would rather this like work for me than like me learn something I don't want to learn.
Yeah, 100%. People are gonna gravitate towards it and actually listen. I think that's where the school systems have gone wrong in the past is
Yeah, yeah.
expecting everybody to learn the same and be into the same things
Hmm.
when that's in reality not never gonna work out that way. So yeah, how did you get involved in music? How long has your love been around for music?
Oh man. Let's see. So like I've grown up with it my whole life. I grew up in like a Christian like church setting.
Yeah,
So like it was fun because like you're kind of like in a small church and there's not a lot of musicians around. So I got to play like a bunch of instruments and like kind of suck at it for a long time. So I grew up, like I started with drums, that kind of a thing when I was like 4 or 5 years old. And then slowly I started playing bass, guitar, piano. My dad's a musician.
nice.
So like that's also kind of how I got into music was like, we had like a little it was like a real sounding guitar, like not those like plastic ones,
Yeah.
but it was still like small size. So I started with that. We had like a little keyboard at home, so that's kind of how I started with music.
Oh, that's cool. I
Yeah.
mean, it takes a lot of patience. That's why, for me, I went to school for music production,
Right,
but
yeah.
it was actually picking up instruments was always, I don't know if it was some sort of like disorder or something, but I didn't have the patience to learn notes on them. Like now, I've learned music theory and I know how to use like a MIDI keyboard
Yeah.
and I can make it sound like any instrument I want, but I still don't have that patience to like pick up a guitar and pick up even drums, like the little like I could keep a drum beat, but the foot part was always a difficult thing to me. So like being a kid picking that stuff up and like you said it sucking for so
Yeah,
long,
yeah, yeah, exactly.
that
Yeah.
takes a lot of patience.
Yeah. No, it does take patience. One of the things I find now, like when I'm teaching like students, and like you could even probably vouch for your own like learning style, that like certain things you can pick up if you have the patience for it, right? So like I don't know, if a 4 or 5 year old kid like just can't sit still or doesn't want to listen, then like music's not going to come as easy to them, right?
Yeah.
So maybe that's what you mean by like the disorder thing.
Yeah, like
Um,
yeah, just not having patience or being frustrated really easily. It's a difficult gig. So you're a teacher.
yeah, yeah,
If you're teaching young kids, you probably see a lot of that, right?
yeah, exactly, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I know that like my parents bought me instruments when I was a kid to
right.
learn, and I just didn't ever have the patience to learn it until I got older. And it's come to a point in music now that everything can be done electronically. And I think once I got to that point, it almost made me feel like, why do I have to learn other instruments?
It's actually true. One of the things that I'm trying to learn now is the electronic part of things.
Yeah.
Like I just got my Logic set up not too long ago. So like I got my interface, got Logic going. I have everything technically, but now I need to learn how to use electronic music, and it's not easy to learn at first.
No, it isn't, and people think it's very easy. There's a lot to it as well.
Hmm.
I think the best music nowadays is a blend. I mean,
Right? Yeah.
um, there's many bands that have done the kind of blending of genres together, just like kind of taking modern music technology and bringing live instruments into it as well. A lot of hip hop doing that. Bands like I mean, back in the day, Linkin Park and stuff, where it was
Oh
really
yeah, true.
like you would go to a Linkin Park show and you'd have a DJ with a lot of electronic
Right.
music, but then you'd have a full live band as well. And I think that's where music has to go, because you don't want to eliminate the old self of music and just have
Right.
basically kids holding down loops on their MIDI keyboards, right?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
so what's your most challenging thing as a teacher teaching music?
Um, yeah, my most challenging thing as a teacher. I think there's like moments where like I don't know, like just with anything, like I become like humbled where I'm like, I don't think I know enough about that as much as I think I needed to in order to like teach you this, right? So like as a teacher, you're always like learning on the go. So I don't know, like I kind of find that like if I'm not continually learning or like I don't know, honing my own craft, then I'm not going to be useful to particular students that I'm teaching. So that's probably one of the hardest things I would say.
Yeah, learning while you're teaching is very difficult.
Yeah.
I come from a pro wrestling background too, and that's where a lot of people kind of fell into trouble. Where it's you're paying money to train with somebody, yet they haven't
Right.
really they don't know what they're doing
They haven't
properly.
been in the game or
They haven't
whatever it
been to the
is.
game,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So it's like it can be difficult, but if that person is willing to learn with you, I mean, everybody, you will never be perfect at anything. Like, I don't
Right.
care what anybody thinks or says, they will never be perfect at something. You can get better at pretty much anything. So a teacher really should never be stuck in their ways.
No, it's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like not only stuck in your ways, but also how you communicate anything you do know, right? Like just because you know something, it's a whole other thing to teach somebody else how to do it, right?
Yeah, and it takes a whole different kind of person to be able to teach it in a way where it's not easy to them. If that
Mm-hmm.
makes sense. If a lot of people will talk about things, if they are very good at it, like it will be very easy to come, like to be that good at it to other people
Right.
when it's something that you've taken the time to perfect, and you have to know that you got to be patient with people. Like
Oh
I'll go
yeah.
back to that word, patient. It's
Yes.
music is um, is one of the most beautiful things that humans have ever created. But to make the beautiful sound that it is, it's not overnight. It's patience.
It's a lifetime really.
Yeah,
And I'm sure you could say the same with like, like I guess on your side production, right?
yeah. You know what? And coming, I was when I went to school for music production. Only thing I really had for knowledge was the business of music.
Right, okay.
I didn't have like I never I dabbled in hip hop, but it was always songwriting and more lyrical stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Once I actually got into playing music and making hip hop instrumentals and just trying to sell them, and it's totally was a totally new realm to me. But when it came to talking about the part of the course that was music business, talking about like how to monetize and all that. Like I kind of
Right,
already
yeah.
had that down. I've seen it growing up with family in the industry. But yeah, once it sat me down for music theory, I was one of the only people in my class that had no background in music. Like when it came to actually playing instruments.
Oh, that's so
So
unfortunate.
so
Yeah.
yeah. So but luckily I had a I was pretty tech savvy. So once it was like opening up the reasons, the Cubases, the
Right.
Logics, all these programs, I picked it up pretty fast. Like, and knowing what hip hop is and how so many people are self taught in that industry.
Yes, yes.
I also have a very practical learning. Like that's how I learn. So if a teacher sat there the whole time showing us stuff, I could never process it. But as
Mm-hmm.
soon as I took that MacBook home and started just recording my own stuff, the things I learned
Mm-hmm.
were dramatically better almost. I'll never say it was a waste of money to go to
Yeah,
school
yeah. Mm-hmm.
because I got a bunch of discounted like basically stuff as a student, but it pretty much they after one semester I learned what I needed to learn for how far I
That's
went.
cool.
Yeah,
Wow, just one semester.
yeah, one semester one of our teachers made the mistake of saying in this industry, a diploma means nothing. That's what he said to us. And then you literally saw the next week, four people were out of the class because they're like, why am I here then? If I already know what I'm
Huh.
doing. And
Yeah, yeah.
it makes sense. It is a very, we don't care what you have. We care what you do industry.
Right.
If
Like
you're a 12,
results.
if you're a 12-year-old kid sitting in your basement and you're coming out with amazing music, they don't care if you got a diploma for it. They're like,
True, true.
this kid is 12 years old and he's a prodigy. Let's sign him, do whatever we have to do to make this person famous. And that's what one of our teachers said, is like, literally, this is just sprucing up your skills, take it to the next level, but a diploma on the wall will never mean anything in this industry.
Honestly, that sounds like a great music teacher, or I guess like kind of your course teacher, right?
Yeah,
Like I've never heard that from most teachers I've ever had in anything.
never.
Like they never admit, hey, this is not gonna be what you think it is. Like it could get you in the right direction, but
Yeah, like maybe if you're going into
depends what you do. Yeah.
yeah, if you're going into like we did some scoring and like movie
Mm,
scoring and that kind of stuff, and it maybe a diploma might get you in, and maybe like as like basically an intern or something working on like in a studio for making music for movies or like sound effects.
hmm.
But when it comes to being your own artist as a musician, whatever genre you're in, what will a diploma get you? Absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
That diploma might mean A, you're an A student, could mean you're a C- student. No, it just got by making music. No, so that really
Right.
means
Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely nothing. It's what you're coming out with.
No, nobody's asking, like their favorite hip hop artist, like, hey, like, what do you have for accreditation? Like, do you have a diploma in this? Like,
No,
nobody's asking that.
no, the Berkeley School of Music
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
okay, so what people don't realize about guys like Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg, after they became famous, they were sick of people saying they weren't real musicians, and both of them actually went to Berkeley,
Just to prove it.
and Dre, I think, was strictly for like theory and all this stuff. He did graduated great while he was famous, but nobody talks about that because like in reality, they're like, oh, I just Dr. Dre comes up with amazing music. They
Right.
don't
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
that, but he did it just to like prove the naysayers in the industry
That's
wrong.
crazy. Wow. Okay.
And there that like that hip hop's always had a rep for not really people like dogging it in music, basically, as not a real.
That's too bad.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think any kind of music, it should be accepted as music.
Yeah. If it's good, it's good. Like, who cares? If that person has a music degree.
No, so like okay, like let's get back to your music.
Sure. Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
So like, how did you start wanting to like do it for work? How did that like come to be?
Um, Honestly, like in some ways, I didn't go looking for it. So I was living in Ontario, like I don't know, like 6 or 7 years ago, like for my whole life. When I came out here for college, in my third year of like studying, I realized that I should probably pick up some part-time work. So literally, my favorite thing that I wanted to do is like, well, can I do anything with music? So I literally went on Indeed, and while from Ontario, I found that there was a music teaching job. So I got in contact with them, like did the interview, and like they like I wasn't even in as like an employee. They were just gonna take me as a sub teacher, right? So that was kind of like my, I don't know, gateway into that. I'm like, oh, I didn't know you could get paid to like teach people to do music. So that's I don't know, that was 4 years ago, I think. 4 years ago that I started doing that as a sub. And then a couple months in, like they offered me 1 day of work, right? Like nothing big. But yeah, like I don't know, like as the years have gone on, like I just realized that there were more and more like music schools out there, and I started doing it myself like 2 years ago. So it's been pretty fun. I'm still learning as I go.
Yeah, that's wicked. When it comes to like recording your own music, I know you're teaching. Like,
Right?
do
Yeah,
you
yeah,
still you're playing gigs as much as you can? Obviously, COVID, it's crazy.
yeah. It's so something I did like last summer was, so I have a cousin who lives in Ontario, and he does like live entertainment. I know his like group, like what they do is they also do like DJing for weddings and stuff like that. So I was really asking him like, hey, like how do I get into like like live gigs really? And honestly, like he's just like, you know what, like you gotta like you want to get in touch with these people that are like managing all these places. So like go there in person, like tell them what you do, show them what you do. If that doesn't work, like cold calls, cold emails. I did a ton of those last summer, and then it opened the door to, well, actually, let me backtrack. Before that, um, someone found me through Instagram, actually, at maybe like a hashtag or whatever it was, and they asked me to do a gig for like a proposal, like they were proposing to their girlfriend. So then I played for that, and that's where I realized I'm like, oh, like people want like some live music now. So that's what got me kind of interested. So then from there, cold calls, emails. I landed a gig in Vancouver where like it was a recurring gig at a coffee shop. So then from there, like I just started doing like live gigs here and there, and I haven't done one since I think November. It's been a while,
Mm.
but it was fun while it lasted.
Yeah, I mean, it should be opening up again pretty
Yeah,
soon
yeah,
too.
yeah. And there's live music going on as we speak.
Yeah, yeah, I know. You're allowed to play. Like if it's like a restaurant gig or a pub gig or
Breweries.
just
Yeah, yeah.
breweries, it's like you're allowed to do it. We're obviously an event space here as well. That's like one of the things. If you saw our lounge where you got the
Yeah,
coffee,
yeah, yeah. I saw that.
that's a rentable lounge space. So in the future, it really put a damper on our plans in the first year. But we want to have events here
I remember
constantly.
Aaron talking about
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
so we're gonna be doing like open mic nights, talent shows, concerts for people that want to have them here, just small concerts. Really just trying to bring the community together of just the artists that want to play gigs. It would be really cool
That's
to have
awesome.
those kinds of nights. I'm going to be like I have a few friends in the hip hop industry that are pretty renowned, so bringing them in to do like freestyle nights and
Oof.
battles
I
and
would
stuff.
love to see that.
Yeah, so it
Yeah.
really wanting to bring business and arts together because in today's times it is so key and essential with how you market your business. All the artsy people that are basically in the past, unless they found a way to make monetize what they do for art, only did it as a side hustle, right? Now with businesses, the business minded people having to market themselves online with Instagram and all these different visual.
You have to.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
essential. So we want to bring those people in the same
Hmm.
building and have those relationships build between those people. Not where you're just paying somebody online to saying I need this. Like let's say if somebody contacted you and wanted to get some live music played for
Sure.
a video or something,
Hmm.
the amount of like back and forth and not knowing if on each side exactly what that person wants, it's
Hmm.
so hard. That's where I think like yeah, the last couple of years we've really realized how insanely good technology can be to us with the zooms and all that stuff, but
Yeah.
still people crave one-on-one personable relationships.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Yeah.
really letting those people meet the musicians, the graphic designers, the videographers, all those people
Hmm.
meeting those business minded people that have no idea how to do that stuff. It's crucial for their success of their business now.
I think that's cool that you guys actually want to like bring that to like the arts, like the business side of it.
Yeah.
Like I know so many like awesome musicians, people that like work with DAWs and like make their own music. Like they're good at what they do, but like man, the business side of it, like it's something that we all struggle with, I think.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
one of those things that I know because I went to school for it,
Right.
and just seeing how I don't know jobs for musicians once
Oof.
they
Yeah.
they got older started being less fun because it was so corporate and so like you have to be it this way and so boring, and it's like I have a friend who's a graphic designer, same thing. He always wanted to do like comic books and all these cool like more artsy things, and yet he was working for a company slapping labels on protein like
Right,
bottles and like
right. Yeah.
that guy. It's just like and people end up doing that as like a I need to
You have
I
to.
went to school
Yeah,
for
yeah.
this. I want to make money doing it. I want to do what I want to do, but that's not where the money is.
Hmm.
Now I think the artists have a little bit more creativity and allowance like of doing kind of what they do alongside these businesses.
Totally.
It's not so structured and corporate anymore.
Hmm.
You need to look fun, and in my opinion, artsy people always have been the fun side of life. Like it's the people that took initiative to say, "Screw this." I don't want to just put on a collar and a tie. Like
Right. Yeah, yeah.
I don't want to be that worker. I don't want to waste my life away. I love something. I don't care if it's going to make me barely enough to get by or make me a millionaire. I want to do this. This is what makes me happy. And it takes a definitely a certain type of person that accept that. And like you're doing it. This is your job now.
Right.
And it's really it's hard to stay with it if you're not
No, for
instant
sure.
success.
There's, and I like that you bring that up. Like, there's like some people have like a carefreeness to them where like they're just like, yeah, like, whether this makes me X amount of money or not, like they'll still do it. Like I think that's so cool.
Yeah, it's kind of it's passion, man. I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
I think actually what this COVID has done for people is brought out passion.
Oh yeah.
Is if they've lost their job or they had no control of, got laid off, whatever, if they had that side hustle or something they love doing,
Hmm.
this has given them the opportunity of either going hard with it or continuing just to do it for fun and kind of keep your mental state
Yeah.
somewhere where
Hmm.
it's like you might if you were working that job that you were just all, go 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 and you didn't have time for that stuff, your mental state was already bad.
Hmm.
Now being laid off, mental state's even worse. If
Right.
you're a musician, just taking that time to play music to settle your brain.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I've the amount of people that I've talked to on this that have started companies or started
Like
just
during COVID.
during COVID,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
insane. It's insane because they're like, I got laid off here. I was a photographer as for fun on the side. Now it's like, okay, no, I have to do this, and I need.
You have nothing to lose, really.
Yeah, it's a blessing and a curse. This
Yes,
whole
yes.
thing. It's a,
It
and
is.
like
It
and
really
you,
is.
this is when you've started doing it full time too, right?
Hmm.
Just during COVID.
Yeah, no, yeah, exactly. Like I was doing it part time, and I was scared actually for a bit. I was like, I don't know if I, like, I was thinking like, should I move back to Ontario and pick up like a completely different job that's not music related because I thought I was gonna be out of work.
Yeah.
And then I don't know, September came around and like things like picked up, and I'm like, whoa, I need to do something with this. I can't just like stay where I'm at. So
Yeah, and I mean it's probably brought you a lot of happiness during some crazy times.
yeah, no, you're right. It's again, it's the blessing and curse. Like I'm doing what I love, um, but then at the same time, it's also what you're getting paid for. So there's a healthy balance there, I think.
Yeah, yeah. It's do you just have people like basically is your school out of your house right now?
Yeah, it's like I do like a ton of different things. So like one of the things that I did before doing my own students is like I'm contracted with different schools. So it's like I would be in like Vancouver, Langley, New West, wherever it is they're located. And then as of last year, like I started doing it from my place, like with my own students.
Nice.
So like yeah, I have a mixture of like online and like in-person students. Um and yeah, I do like working from home. Like I do that now like 2 to 3 days a week from home.
Nice.
But I do like to get out of the house for sure.
Yeah, it's hard to separate. That's why we're what we are. A co-working space is I it's somewhere to get away. You need home to be home.
Well, yeah.
It's really hard to stop working when you're working from home.
Like I don't know about you, but like whenever I'm not on the clock, like I still want to learn and like work. So I never do it at home. I always go to a coffee shop.
Yeah.
So like I think that you guys have this space here super cool.
Yeah, it's we hear that a lot. Is
Yeah.
there people just need to escape? I mean, we worked at home for a month during
Hmm.
COVID because we were building this place up. My parents both have immune deficiencies, so it was like,
Oh yeah, yeah.
okay, they watch my son every day, me and Aaron's son every day, Monday to Friday. All of a sudden, everybody's freaking out because it's the beginning of it. And they're like, oh, okay, I can't have my son watch with my parents every day. So we
Right,
stayed
right.
home for a month. And we either couldn't get anything done or wouldn't stop working.
Oh
You wake
man.
up,
Yeah, yeah.
we have to deal with him. You'd be working from the time he woke up pretty much till late after he went to bed because you didn't get what you needed to get done. So you're working all day. And that's where we've been trying to sell like you need to make home again. Like
Hmm.
a lot of people have been forced to work full time from home, and it's really hard to separate work
It's
life.
so hard. You need boundaries.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I mean like and it's it takes a certain type of person too, like
Hmm.
working waking up, doing everything like you would have if you're working for somebody. I don't know how people like how I feel for bosses for the first time in pretty much the history of my life because
Hmm.
I've had bosses. Everybody
Hmm.
usually has some rip against their
Yeah,
boss,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
But
Sure.
I actually feel for them now because it's you're relying on the staff to work a full 8 hour shift. If you're one of those companies that puts a monitoring device on
Oh
you, you're looking like you're
no.
a micromanager and
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
terrible. But if you're not, you're relying on your staff that's at home that sees their laundry sitting there, that sees this and that doesn't. There's like, okay, maybe I'll go do my laundry right now, or I see my dishes stacking
Right.
up.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
yeah.
do that while I'm supposed to be working. And if it's really difficult being a boss, it's okay with that when
How do you measure? Yeah, how do you measure like it? Are you? is the person working doing what they're supposed to do, right?
Yeah, and
That's gotta be so tricky.
it's difficult, man. I really am gonna be. It's gonna be interesting once this is all done. Like,
Hmm.
where are people gonna be working from? A majority. I mean, like people lost their leases, or they stopped paying leases on
Right.
buildings
Yeah. Yeah.
because they were like, okay, our staff works from home. Let's not stay in this
Hmm.
building. Well, what happens when everything is back to normal per se, and their numbers are staying the same, like let's say a sales team and they're at home and their numbers are COVID numbers and it's not COVID anymore.
Right.
it,
Yeah.
it proves that those people might be using that as an excuse, and working from home is not for them. It takes a special kind of person
Oh
to work from
yes,
home.
it does. Yeah.
So let's narrow it down.
Sure. Sure.
Instrument, what is your like baby to hold? What do you love playing?
Ooh, what do I love playing? All right. Well, so actually, this is funny. So I don't do a whole lot of jamming anymore. Like that's what I'm trying to get back into with like the intent of like, releasing music bit by bit. So when I do jam, I jam on the piano. I don't know. I've always been like a piano player. Like when people like solo like on an instrument,
Yeah,
my instrument of choice to solo on is the piano.
nice.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like right in front of me. It's right there. I just kind of know it. Um, but I do jam a lot with my voice when I'm singing in the shower or when I'm driving and just blasting music in the car.
Yeah.
That's probably when I jam the most.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
Do you have like a like when it comes to students, do they come in for many reasons, or they like tend to kind of stick to certain instruments or
It really, yeah, like it depends on like, so for example, so I have like a couple of schools that I'm with and then my own students. So people will come for different reasons. Some people, they tried traditional music lessons and it just wasn't right for them. So they're like, you know what, like my kid or me, I just want to learn something that's like fun, right? So again, people want to learn the music they love. I think that makes sense. So sometimes people come for that. Sometimes people don't want to learn an instrument. They want to learn how to like write their own stuff. So like that might involve like singing or an instrument, but really it's like, now we're getting to songwriting, so theory.
yeah,
So yeah, people come for so many different reasons. Like, I teach 3-year-olds all the way to like retired people.
yeah,
So it's pretty fun.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I bet is theory one of the more difficult things to teach?
Um, I No, it's not difficult to teach. Like what I've tried to do is like I don't throw a bunch of theory at people right away, or maybe ever, depending on where they're at. What I try to do is like as you're learning a song that you love, I think people will more naturally want to learn the theory behind it.
Yeah,
So I never like, unless it's like I don't know, guitar or maybe piano, like, I'll teach you your scales, right?
yeah.
Because I think that's important to like get used to the fingering. But as far as like, like do I teach people theory just because? No. I think they'll learn it as they start to see it more in like the chords or like the songs they're playing. So that's kind of how I do it.
Yeah, I know. I asked that question because as someone who didn't have it,
Hmm.
getting thrown at me pretty hard. It's like mathematics pretty much. That's what it is. It's like it's very foreign, and if you don't know how to read it, it looks like basically like Egyptian hieroglyphs, right?
Well, and that's the other thing too is like I would say that less than half of my students I teach how to read music, right? Because you can still teach theory apart from the music itself.
Yeah.
Like sorry, reading music.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's yeah. Reading music, I find it can be a little bit. Once you start writing it yourself, is when it gets to be a little bit more
Hmm.
challenging, right?
And it is useful depending on what you're trying to do. Like, if you like reading music and you just learn better that way, then yeah, absolutely, I teach people that way. But most of my students, to be honest, we learn by ear. We look at chord sheets, that kind of stuff.
That's awesome. That is it's true musician really. Like there's so many people that, like you said, they have a song that they love growing up, and that's the
Right?
first song
Yeah.
they want to learn. Like everybody hears the Stairway to Heaven. Like everybody wants that love that
Right. Yeah.
guitar
Yeah.
solo will like try to learn it, and if they do, like a lot of it's self-taught. I mean, the little bit of guitar I did teach myself was songs that I
That you
like
love.
Smoke on the Water, like, and
Right.
I
Yeah. Yeah.
taught myself like, oh, that sounds like it, okay, like, and I put it together and made it work.
Hmm.
And that's the original musician. If you think about it, the original
Yeah.
didn't have a basically a sheet to follow. They
No,
just
that's true.
created it. And that's pretty much every industry in the world is somebody just tried it. And that's where I think we're kind of going in that direction again with the world is it's less about that diploma or
Yeah,
that
yeah.
and it's more about what you can do. Obviously there's things like doctors and stuff, you need
Well, yeah,
that.
you certain people you like, or if you, I don't know, if you're building a rocket or
Yeah, yeah,
something,
but when it
doing
comes to
operations.
like certain, I think there's certain positions and even a lot of like professional business areas that like if you have a young person who has a mind ahead of, like just for that stuff,
Right, yeah,
but they
yeah.
don't have the school for it, if they're still better than like use the people that seem like they're the best for the job, and I think it's finally kind of getting to that point. Um, Inspirations.
Sure.
Who are your inspirations growing up for music?
Oof. Um, yeah, so like it's funny because like I have, my inspirations and then my current inspirations. Like growing up, a lot of what I listened to for a long time was like kind of like church Christian music because that's my background.
Yeah.
Um, so okay, I don't know if you've heard of something. It's called Southern Gospel. It's pretty much like it's Christianity's version of like country. So it's like a bunch of like it's a vibe if you like it. Like it's a bunch of like trios and quartets, and they kind of like sing harmony and like that kind of stuff. Uh, I want to say country, but like not with the twang, if that
Okay.
makes any
Yeah,
sense.
yeah, yeah.
So it's more of like it's like an American style of music. Anyhow, I grew up with that, but I always loved like like anything that sounded nice to my ears. So I went to my local music store, and I remember buying my first DVD or CD, whatever it was. It was this band called Hillsong. So in like in the world of like Christian religion, they're like the band. So I remember hearing them for the first time. They had like guitars. In the DVD, like I saw these like guys with like long hair, and I'm like, this is so cool. Like I want to listen to this more. So then from there, like I remember getting my first iPod, and my sister's boyfriend at the time downloaded a whole bunch of music onto it. So like I had everything on there, like metal, rock, indie, hip hop, like just whatever it was. And I don't know, that opened my mind to like a lot of music at the time.
Yeah.
So then I don't know, from there, I had a phase where I was really into like pop, and then for a couple of years like alternative stuff. Like I felt like I was kind of like the underground scene.
Yeah.
Um, and then now, like I'm into like a lot of stuff, but like it depends. Like, so for example, if I'm driving my car, if it's in the morning, I'll listen to like mellow pop, acoustic stuff. If the sun's out, I'm blasting country. If I'm really feeling it, like some metal and rock in there. So it really depends.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, I think genres are a way of the past. I think it's just
Yeah,
slowly just kind of meshing all together.
well, it's what Spotify does with like the moods, right? Like where you can listen to music based on a mood, not even a genre.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense.
It's
It,
crazy.
it, it definitely helps because there's certain times you could be listening to the same band, but they got different vibes. They go through different experiences.
Yeah.
So if you have listened to a full album, half of it's extremely like happy go lucky, and the rest of it's down in the dumps. Like
Yeah, no, it's true.
it doesn't always work for the mood that you were in.
Hmm.
So yeah, things like Spotify now are just insane.
It,
I love the time capsules. Like those are crazy. Where
oh
it's just
yeah,
like
yeah.
look up a year and boom,
Hmm.
like looking at my year I was born, like what was number one, and just letting it play. And
That's awesome. You listen
yeah,
to those? That's cool.
yeah, it's cool. I if you like go back to your year you were born and just
Hmm.
see what was big, and like if you know the songs, like if they stuck around
Right.
past the year you were born, it's usually a pretty good song. Mine from 1987.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Not many good songs from the 80s, but then when I like
Really?
not to me at least, and then so when you go and you listen to these and you're like, oh man, I actually know this song. This song stuck around either like being put in movies
Huh. Okay.
or just yeah, a lot of Paul Abdul and but
That's
yeah,
awesome.
but yeah, I love talking to other like just
Yeah. Yeah.
musicians.
Totally.
And the fact that you're teaching kids is like that's I mean awesome. Is it you're saying you're going from school to school to school? Can you drop the school's names or do you want to just
Yeah. Sure. I don't mind. Yeah. Like so. Yeah. One of the schools that I'm mainly with right now is they're called Song of Stars. So they're based out of Vancouver. They also have a location in Langley. So I'm with them. I'm also with Ryan May Music. I think they're based here in the Tri Cities, if I believe so correctly. And then I'm also with New West Music in New West, of course. And then yeah, just like different things here and there, but those are like the main ones
Oh, that's cool.
that I'm with. Yeah.
Ages like what from usually are you working?
Yeah, like so with these schools, like it's usually like kids up to like young adults. So that's usually what I teach. But then like for example with my own lessons, I have kids to like adults. Like I teach a lot of adults myself.
That's cool.
So yeah, like, it's like people that like they played for a couple years, they dropped it because of whatever reason, they want to come back to it. Like I have a lot of those kinds of adults coming to me. So
Was it since COVID? Like,
yeah, well, yeah, it's a COVID thing. We're
yeah,
like people. I think people are I think we're just wired to like want to do something like creative. So
yeah, and I mean, I even like that human connection right now, man.
no, seriously,
It's
seriously.
it's huge. We had I'll just like kind of tell a story.
Yeah, yeah,
When
go
we
for
were
it, go
doing
for it.
like the tours here last year, 2020, when
I
we were,
came for one.
yeah, yeah. So we are doing them constantly, and we are like, okay, last summer the numbers were better or whatever, and then uh once I think it was like September hit and Bonnie Henry started really putting it down in the dumps and like how she delivered, how everything was.
Yeah,
Not saying it's
yeah,
her
yeah.
fault, but it's just like
No, no,
numbers
no.
started
Yeah,
going like
yeah.
this. Her rules started going like this, and we're like, oh man, like all these tours we've done, everybody keeps telling us once COVID's done, we'll definitely come back. And so
Right.
we keep hearing. Well, now we're getting so much response back from last year now, and even before now, where it was like the people that were like, okay, I'll come back after COVID. They're like, I can't do this anymore. I
Yeah.
need human interaction. I need to not work from my house. I can't do this anymore.
Hmm.
And they come back, they come here, and they've joined
That's
since,
so cool.
and some of them start with like the 1 day a week just to get out of
Hmm.
their house. We have a 3 day package. We have five, but like we've had it. So those people that came in just for the one have slowly jumped up to more higher memberships because it's a human interaction, man. It's
Honestly.
bizarre, and I don't like selling us as like, oh, like almost like a loophole, but offices are still allowed to be open. This kind of stuff is allowed,
No,
even
true.
during the really strict times.
Absolutely.
That mask up, do what you have to, but being able to see other people that
Hmm.
aren't I guess they are in your bubble because it's the
Right.
work bubble, but it's still it's you meet these people. If you can't even see your family, but you can see other people, it,
Right, right.
and for entrepreneurs, I'm not one. I'm not an extrovert whatsoever. I'm actually quite introverted when it comes to people I don't know. But
Hmm.
a lot of people that are entrepreneurs and like go-getters, and a
Hmm.
lot of them are extroverted because that's why they're so successful. They can go out there and they can just talk to anybody. They can work with anybody. Those people are losing their damn minds right now.
Yeah, yeah,
They
absolutely.
are, or like not now, it's getting better. Last year when it was the restrictions were bad, like I feel for them because
Hmm.
telling an extrovert stay home is the
Right,
worst
yeah.
thing you can do. Other introverts are like, I'll stay home all the time. This is awesome.
It's actually it's so funny because like I probably was like introverted like for a time in my life, but it was during COVID where I realized that I was actually extroverted.
Yeah.
Like I was just like I can't be at home in my free time. Like I need to get out somewhere, anywhere.
Yeah, and just and I never
Yeah.
thought that people were my thing, if that makes sense. Like,
Hmm.
and it's
Hmm.
just like
Hmm.
all of a sudden you
Yeah.
remember those plans you used to make with friends or parties and all this,
Honestly.
and then you're like, oh, you coming up with an excuse not to go,
Yeah.
and now you're just like you would do anything to just do
Right.
anything with your friends, and
Yeah.
it just brings you to that point where you're just like you realize what is actually important to you, and I think that's the like I said, the blessing and the curse of this whole
Honestly.
freaking COVID thing is
Yeah.
um, everything that you might have complained about before is really being put into perspective. And it, I hope that we come out of this like with just better mind frames for what you
Honestly.
need in life. Because we definitely made it seem like you need a lot more and a lot. I did not enjoy the cutthroat lifestyle that humans lived before COVID.
Honestly, well, yeah, because I guess when we're all doing whatever it is we're doing, like we're not really thinking about like, wait, why do I do things this way? Like, is this actually healthy for me? Whatever it is, right?
Yeah. Well, and just we're in the business world for me, like,
Right. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's just like, in the past, businesses, if you had another business in somewhat same area that did the same thing you do, you wanted them done. you would want you want your competition. You don't want that. You don't want competition. You want to take.
Right, right.
Since COVID, what I've seen in so many industries is people are like, there's room for everybody. I don't want
Collaboration.
nobody wants to see anybody lose their job right now. Nobody wants to see them lose their
Right, right.
businesses because they know the reason why. And it's not fair. It really isn't fair. So a lot of industries that would look at each other as competition in the past are like, no, we don't care. We want you to succeed too. Everybody has enough people for each side. Like we will make this work. We don't want. We're not going to be cutthroat anymore.
That's
And
so cool.
it's crazy.
It's like a business hippie movement.
It kind of is, and I think
Yeah.
it's just young people are getting younger that are in charge of things, and not saying anything bad about prior generations, but I know like my parents' generation, the boomers, it was like your happiness was the last thing that mattered. Your mental
Huh,
health was the
interesting.
last thing that mattered. It was like if you have a family, you need to get that union job. You need
Right.
to have benefits. You need
You
to
do till the day you die kind of
do it
thing.
until the day you die, or
Yeah, yeah.
or you have the chance to retire. But you will hate your job. You will hate what you do, but that's just life. And I think
Hmm.
we're finally starting to be like, no, I want to do what I want to do. When you look into benefits and stuff, yeah, they're essential for a lot of people, but for young people, really not so much unless you have a lot of health.
Sure,
But
yeah, yeah.
but if you're in your 20s and you have something, you have an idea, and you think, I want to do this now. I don't want to be 40 something and
Hmm.
never tried this out.
Right, yeah.
That's your time to do it. You can go get that job in your 30s. You
Hmm.
can. But you will regret it if you don't try. And I think more and more people are seeing it that way. It's like
Hmm.
try. You have all the time in the world to do something you're gonna hate just to pay the bills. Try doing what you love.
That's good. No, I love that. Like I think I've just been learning through like my own life, and you could probably say the same. You're older than me, but like, yeah, you've tried things, and as you go along, you're like, you know what, I did it, and I think I want to do this now. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. It be change, man.
yeah.
I think people that want to learn new things while they're almost, I want to say, on top of what they're doing at the
Hmm.
moment, but always trying to evolve into
Yeah,
something.
just
Uh,
evolving in general, right?
yeah, because I honestly think if you do this, it could be your favorite thing in the world. If you do the exact same thing every day, you're gonna end up despising it. Doesn't matter what it is. And
Totally.
so that's a majority of the working class in the world. They do the same thing every day and they started off not liking it. That's the worst
Oof,
thing. When
that's
you start a
horrible.
position
Yeah,
somewhere
yeah.
and you're like, okay, this pays the bills, I'm getting paid really good, I have great benefits, all this stuff, and but the work sucks, and then you're like, I'm gonna stay here, and you work there 30 years, hating it the
Hmm.
entire time, man. Like it's not good. I think mental health is finally in the forefront where it's like, no, that is the number one priority is to keep your head on straight and
Right.
to
Yeah.
not want to blow your head off after a day of work. It's not how it should be. Nobody gets the best out of somebody if they hate what they're doing.
Well, and like maybe not everybody has the same, I don't know, opportunities or knowledge to like, I don't know, move around from like job to job. So maybe it's finding ways to evolve in whatever you are doing.
Yeah,
Like maybe it's, I don't know, making your work look different in what you do, or I don't know, depending on like your business structure, like maybe moving to a different position within that company, right?
yeah, yeah. And sometimes it's way harder than
Well, yeah, yeah, it's not easy. Yeah.
it's so I like what I try to really push is like I honestly before here that's what I was. I worked my 9 to 5. I paid my bills. I had good paying jobs.
Totally.
Like pretty much like careers. But it's when you're going home and you can't enjoy your time at home because you're just bitter about your day
Oh,
or
yeah.
and there's so many people like that. And like I said, it's a lot of the past generations that like it doesn't matter about your happiness. It doesn't matter. It's like you only depending on what you believe, you only have one kick at the can. Like it
Sure.
really depends on like
Hmm.
what you and for you to basically essentially waste your life not putting any of your passions in the forefront or your mental health or just happiness in the forefront.
Hmm.
It's like we all want like happiness. So
Yeah.
try to get it. Try to get it unless it's in a screwed up way, but just try to
No, I like that. Yeah.
yeah.
No, that's really good. Like I'm inspired by what you're saying. I think people should try to pursue happiness, whatever that looks like.
Yeah, and that's why I really respect what you're doing, man. also spreading the like love of music to people and teaching people and
Hmm.
adults getting back into it is huge.
Yeah,
Like
it's super fun.
because there's that saying, you can't teach old dogs new tricks, and it's complete BS in
No, it's
reality.
true. It's true. Yeah, you just gotta adjust, obviously, to like getting back into it. But yes, old dogs can learn new tricks.
Yes, I can. What's your youngest student? What's your oldest student?
Yeah. So, um, my youngest student that I can think of at the moment is a 3-year-old. Teaching him drums. Started not too long ago. So, like, he's warming up to me. So that's been super fun. And then my oldest student is a retired student. I think he's like a contract worker, like owns his business or whatever. But anyhow, I think he's like in his 60s.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's actually a vibe. I teach him and like, like sometimes he has this like a can of beer oven. It's pretty fun.
No, that's
Yeah,
that's pretty funny.
yeah.
3-year-old. I have a 3-year-old, so
Mm-hmm.
that makes me picturing him learning drums is like I feel for you.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Like, I guess like that's where like both like whoever's teaching and I guess the parents weigh out like can my kid do this right now? Like maybe, maybe not.
Yeah, it's. I mean, well, it could be fun. I'd love to. I mean, all my kid would do is bang, just like
Well, yeah, kids will love banging stuff no matter what. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, man, I enjoyed talking to you. Where can we find any of your stuff? Like, where can
Mhm.
we contact you if we want to use you for your school or just check out your music?
Yeah, like the major things I have right now is like so I have like my website and Instagram, LinkedIn if people want to do that kind of a thing. So yeah, it's just dannygascho.com. So my last name is spelled weird, Gascho. So I have my website. I'm also on Instagram under that name and on LinkedIn under that name as well.
Cool. Anything coming up that you're working on that you want to promote?
Um, nothing yet. Like I am working on opening up a music school,
Cool.
and I want to start releasing music. So stay tuned for that.
Awesome, awesome. Well,
Yeah,
thank you, Danny. It's been great talking to you. I love talking music. If I didn't stop this right now, we'd probably be going for a
sure,
long, long
sure.
time. But yeah, I appreciate you coming in. If you need anything, if you're ever needing a good space for jams
Well,
or
I'm thinking ahead. Like like I might need a space for whether it's like jamming or I like the concert idea or I don't know, even for like teaching. Like I have thought of you guys. So
that's awesome. Yeah, because
yeah, yeah,
I want to get an imprint in music here.
that'd be awesome.
Definitely, Tri Cities. You say you've only been here a little while,
Yeah,
but
not too long.
it's crazy. It's been this way since I was a teenager. How much talent comes out of here that doesn't come out of here, if that makes sense.
I hear you. Yeah.
It's finally a time I think where I said it a few times, but mostly hip hop is where I
Right.
come
Yeah.
from,
Hmm.
and in a time where I was growing up, being a Canadian hip hop artist was never easy to make it out of your local area or
My
something.
gosh. I can't imagine.
And now with some of the biggest music, like I mean Drake, and
Like
other
Toronto.
yeah Toronto, but just that Canada's on the map and people can make it out of here. A lot of them like kind of don't promote the fact that they're from like oh I'm like
Right.
I
Yeah.
don't know if
Yeah.
you've heard of Sunreal before.
I've heard the name.
He's pretty big now, but he's from Vernon, BC,
Oh wow.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
he is like mostly down in the states now, and he will talk about being from here, but he's so universally or like big right now, like he's so big around the whole world
Hmm.
that but people don't ever tie it to Canadian music,
That's so sad.
yeah, and so it's finally like seeing these kids grow up in the Tri Cities and doing music and kind of just doing it for fun,
Hmm.
but not realizing how good they are. It's kind of been the story of this area for so long.
Mm.
It's just like, oh, I'm not going to go anywhere with this. Let's just do it for fun. Well, you can go places with it now.
Well,
There's
that's what I'm seeing. Like, I realized that there's a music scene here in the Lower Mainland and in Canada. Like, the more and more I look into it, I'm like, whoa, there's music coming out of here. Like, we should be proud of this.
yeah, it's crazy, man. And
Yeah.
we're Canadians are a weird breed that we don't always support our locals as much as we can with music. It's I have a friend who's a really well-known hip hop artist worldwide,
Totally.
and he will travel to Europe and sell out like big places, and then come home to BC and barely sell out a
Oh
crowd in Vancouver,
man,
and it's
yeah,
just because they're used to you and you're from here. So if you do 2 shows a year, they're like, "I'll just go to one," or he'll be back next year. It's something about like whenever he goes anywhere else, it's like
interesting.
selling out anywhere, and it's weird. I've seen it, I've heard about it. I've never toured myself when it comes to music,
I wonder if
but
it's a cultural thing.
it might be.
Like, I wonder if he's like, yeah, European like places, I guess, have like, I don't know, they love festivals,
They do, man,
right? Like, I
and
have seen that.
they love festivals. They love their music. They support. They love their nights out still.
That is so cool.
We are North America's very. I would just say, it is North America, but I don't know what's weird with Canada. Unless it's the big American artists coming to town or
Maybe,
European,
yeah,
we're
yeah,
we're not going out for the night. Especially how expensive it is here. It's like, okay, I'm gonna go see this artist for $100, and
right.
it's either that or my ridiculous rent.
Yeah, there you go.
But yeah, man, I appreciate you coming
Yeah, thanks
on.
a lot, Mike.
Check him out. What's the website again?
DannyGascho.com.
Okay,
Yeah, Instagram, LinkedIn, wherever you want to find me.
cool. Thank you everybody for watching. I'm Mike Arboit. This is Danny Gascho.
Thank you.
Check him out, everybody. I've listened to some of your stuff on Instagram, and it's
Oh,
pretty,
cool.
pretty,
Awesome.
pretty
I
good,
appreciate
man.
that.
It's
Didn't
really
know that.
good. Okay. Well,
Cool.
thank you, everybody. This has been another edition of PoCommunity. Have a good one.